Have you ever experienced your best friend going completely radio silent out of nowhere? Because until last weekend, I hadn't. Not with Sarah. Me and Sarah had literally spoken every single day for as long as I can remember. A snap, a quick FaceTime, even just a funny meme sent at midnight. We always checked in. Hell, we even kept in touch when I was hospitalized with food poisoning last summer. So when Sarah didn't answer a single call, text, or snap for 2 full days, I freaked out. I'm talking full-blown panic. I called her mom, I called her sister. I even debated calling the hospitals, and when her mom finally called me back, my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. What she told me is still the scariest thing I've ever heard. I have since spoken to Sarah about exactly what happened that night. She'd probably kill me if she knew I shared this with anyone, but it's literally impossible for me to stay silent, so here goes. It all started a few days earlier, when Sarah matched with a guy on Tinder. She showed me his profile while we were laying on my couch watching TV. Nice smile, gentle eyes, laid-back vibes. He wasn't exactly my type, but Sarah was practically swooning. It was his bio that sealed the deal for her. "We've met before in your dreams," followed by a wand emoji. I remember laughing about it. Sarah always loved the weird ones. When he invited her over to his place for a 4th date, to drink wine and just hang out, she barely hesitated. I remember her texting me, "Finally, some alone time," complete with 3 heart emojis. I didn't even think to be worried. Why would I be? She was cautious, she was smart, and it's not like he gave off creepy vibes. If anything, he seemed too good to be true. According to Sarah, everything seemed normal at first. His place wasn't huge or anything special, but it was cozy. They sat on the couch, glasses in hand, laughing as he recounted some ridiculous story about getting lost in a hardware store. Sarah couldn't believe how easy it felt, how natural. She was so sure she'd found someone real. She didn't even mind the wine, even though red wasn't usually her favorite. She just wanted to impress him. She'd take whatever he poured, but barely seconds after her first sip, something shifted. A creeping, familiar sensation snuck into her limbs. Sarah knows what it feels like to be roofied. We both do. About 2 months before this, during a nightmare trip to Mexico, we'd both been drugged at a sketchy bar. That's a whole other story. Somehow, we'd gotten out of that situation mostly unharmed, but the memory still haunted us. So when Sarah felt the tingling in her fingers, the heavy fog rolling into her head, she knew exactly what was happening. And she knew she had minutes, maybe seconds, before the lights went out. Panic exploded in her chest. She had to think fast. Luckily, she'd been lounging on the couch with her phone half out of her pocket. Moving carefully but urgently, she managed to unlock it and dial 911. Then, pretending to answer a call, she shoved it to her ear and said loudly, "Emily!" That's me, by the way, but no, I hadn't called. Sarah forced herself to stand, wobbling slightly. She kept her eyes locked on his, smiling, trying not to betray the terror bubbling inside her. "He's just the cutest," she said into the phone. "We're having such a cozy time." Without waiting for a reaction, she started walking, fast, toward the hallway. She had no idea what was behind the next door. She just knew she had to get away from him. She saw him rise from the couch, confusion flickering across his face. Her hand found a door handle. She twisted it open and practically dove inside. Thank God it was the bathroom. And even better, it had a lock. She slammed it shut and turned the key just as her vision started spinning wildly. Sarah barely remembers what happened next. She remembers mumbling into the phone, slurring the words, "Someone's killing me, come fast." Then everything went black. The next thing she knew, blurry lights were swimming across her vision. Muffled voices echoed around her. She was being carried. She tried to fight, tried to wake up, but her limbs wouldn't move. In a brief, horrifying moment of semi-awareness, she remembers something strange. Someone, maybe a cop, carefully placing a bag over her head as they carried her out. Not rough, not violent, gentle. But why? What the hell was happening? Then the darkness swallowed her again. A few days later, after she'd recovered enough to talk, Sarah went down to the station to give her statement. She answered all their questions the best she could, and then, almost as an afterthought, she asked, I remember something weird. Did you guys put a bag over my head, or was I hallucinating? The detective paused. His face changed, like he didn't want to answer. Finally, he said quietly, "Yes, we did." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The detective sighed. He looked down at the desk and then back up at her. "Because we decided it would have been too traumatic for you to see what he'd prepared for you in the living room." That sentence is just disgusting. Sarah never asked for details, and honestly, I don't think she ever will. The guy's in prison now, thank God. But sometimes late at night, when my phone dings with a random notification, or I hear a knock at the door, I think about how close we both came to losing her. And I wonder just how many dream guys out there are really just horrifying nightmares waiting to happen.